Welcome to the Rewilded Human Podcast, where Dr. Lucille, holistic psychiatrist and psychotherapist, and Dr. Lynn, naturopath and nutritional consultant, help you reconnect with your true self through practical tips on mental health, nutrition, exercise, relationships, and spirituality. With a dash of humor, they tackle today's toughest issues to guide you back to a harmonious, vibrant life.
Welcome, everybody, to the Rewilded Human Podcast. In this episode, I, Dr. Lucille, and my podcast partner, Dr. Lynn, were mesmerized by our guest, Laur Fugère. Laur is a vocal coach and mentor. She is a biofield tuning practitioner, and for over 25 years, she was principal vocalist for Cirque du Soleil. And in this episode, you will experience her concept of something she calls voicing. She has expanded her offering to the world from more traditional singing to this most amazing vocal expression, which when you hear it, you may think that she's channeling the voices of angels. You will learn why she feels that everyone can voice their own song, no matter what you've been told about your voice. You will learn about her concept of the 4 pillars of vocalizing. You will learn things like the ability to release trauma through vocalizing and to do it in a safe way. In Laur's words, when the voice sings the heart, it's beautiful. And her mission is to help everyone reconnect with their voice because it has so many amazing benefits for every aspect of life. So sit back and enjoy this amazing episode. Welcome, everybody. We are so excited to have Laur Fugère here with us, who is, I would just simply say, the most angelic vocalist I have ever run into in my entire life. And you're going to be amazed by everything she's going to share with us about the voice and things like sound healing. So, Laur, welcome. We are so happy to have you here. And
thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. And Laur, I guess to start off with, well, where did you start in your life in this amazing career that you have of bringing your beautiful voice to the world and helping other people bring their voices out as well? How did you start?
I guess I always had a curiosity about the voice, without really knowing where it came from. I remember, when you're little and people ask you, what do you want to do when you're big, And I wanted to be a stewardess because I was interested in traveling. But I was always saying, I want to do this, but I was saying my soul or my heart is with my voice. And I didn't know why I was saying this. I suppose I was always singing when I was a little girl. When you go in the park and you go on the swings, and I was singing, my heart out. And I remember that my motivation to go to church was to sit, in the front row and then sing with the choir master or whatever. So I guess the universe heard me and sent opportunities for me to develop, as a vocalist. And my father and my mother offered me to study with, we called her the Grand Lady of Singing in Quebec, Lucille Dumont. And it was very, prestigious to to learn with her. And I was for 5 years studying with her. And then, I started having appearances on shows, TV shows, radio, and off I was. Yeah.
Amazing. And you, however, ended up developing much more of a very unique
Mm.
style. I remember being captivated when I first saw you. You were singing at a salon that was put on by a mutual friend. Um, but you couldn't even, I mean, yes, it was singing, but I think you used to call it voicing. Uh,
Yes, voicing. I
voicing.
call it voicing because it's not singing in the way people perceive, the use of the voice. It's not singing, it's not chanting, it's not vocalizing. It's so that's why I tried to find a term that would you just like take the convention, out of the idea.
Wonderful. And I remember just being captivated. I have to keep using that word captivated because it was like nothing else I'd ever heard before. And
Mm.
it's like impromptu, right? You had, there was no script,
Right.
no music. It was like, and sometimes you would be accompanied by somebody else, but most of the
Uh-huh.
time it was you with your symbols and everything like that. And it was like
Right.
you just started and you developed an entire amazing, it was like an
Yes.
amazing story with your voice, right? And then
Yes.
and it just went wherever it needed to go. And I
Mm.
remember feeling like this is drawing me through a portal to a magical realm. It
Was
was
it with
just
with lyrics or without lyrics?
no
No
lyrics at
lyrics.
all.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mm. Mm-mm.
it was
I'll tell you where that stems from. When I was early in my career, I was singing in musicals.
Mhm.
So I had lead roles in Cats, in Les Miserables, and it was very, very heavy schedule. We were doing 8 shows a week, and it was extremely demanding. And I had no energy and no time to develop any other repertoire. And I'm not one of those who had a band, when I was a teenager, to just like have fun and sing songs and all of that. So I didn't really have a repertoire. So when I found myself in social contexts, and people asked me to sing, I couldn't sing a damn song.
Wow.
And because I didn't
amazing.
know them, from
Yeah.
beginning to end, whether it was the melody or the words, and then I was very frustrated about that. And one day I remember in a restaurant, a long table, many people celebrating someone's birthday. And of course, they asked me to sing. And interiorly, I said, well, damn it, I'm singing. And I opened my mouth and I just like followed whatever. And I don't know how long it lasted. It's probably not very long, because you do lose track of time when that happens. And when I came to, so to speak, I could see people's reaction. They were like, nobody knew what happened, me first. And that's when I understood, not fully consciously, but I just developed from there. I realized that, okay, I can sing. I can sing whenever, wherever. The irony is that as shy as I am, the freedom I have when I do this is full. I lose all inhibition. I'm how do you say inhibition?
Inhibitions, yes.
Yeah, right. I can go anywhere with my voice, and the body also takes over. For me, it's not separate. Yeah, and I find that when that happens, there's just a connection that gets established, and I become the translator. I become the kind of a transmitter. So I just make myself, my job in those instances is to make myself available.
So is it
Yeah.
almost like you're in a trance and then you're kind of channeling the voice from somewhere else?
You could say this. You could say this, I mean, and then I make choices, of course, it's like everything comes into play, the environment, the people who are there. It's like I feel that I'm holding this space. I'm holding the energy space for everybody who's present, for their experience. I feel that this form of transmission fosters a connection for people so that they're able to, as you said, Lucille, they're able to travel to a very, very intimate space, to a source space. Yeah, I cannot tell you how privileged I feel to be contributing at that level. I feel that, I remember when I was singing with Cirque du Soleil, I was with them for 25 years. It was quite a trip. No need to
I can
tell you.
imagine.
And a trip on many levels. And I remember at some point thinking, being afraid, imagine that, to miss the boat, because I felt that there was something more I needed to do. There was something more personal that I needed to contribute with. Well, Cirque was just becoming too bureaucratic, too political, too corporative.
Mhm.
And I didn't find that I was able to express myself fully. And so it was quite embarrassing to not be satisfied to occupy that spot, So at first, it was very timidly that I was expressing, this desire to do more, and I wasn't sure what it was. I was actually very scared. What am I going to do? And of course, the universe, right? When you call, the universe, gives you pay attention what you wish for.
Mhm.
And so my collaboration with Cirque ended eventually. And that's when I was forced, I was stuck having to, what am I going to do? And so I reconnected with my love for the basics, of sound, of the power of sound, of the resonance principle, the entrainment principle, and one thing leading to another, slowly but surely, I started to act, and do what I am doing, and that's it. I feel fulfilled already.
Mhm. Now, was there anybody doing what you were doing at the time? Because I remember thinking this woman is so unique. And you're right, I actually thought of you as it's as if you're channeling an angel. You have such an angelic presence anyway, but when you vocalize, it is as if there's an angel coming through. And I
Mhm.
thought, I've never heard anybody do this before. So when you were establishing yourself in this unique way, was there anybody around who was doing the same thing?
Way, way back then, not really, because I'm talking about the after Cirque, which was about like 10 years ago. But even before I started doing musicals, that was in the 80s, late 80s. I was already getting involved with the vibrational power of the voice. I was interested in that. And that was like very, very alternative. There was not
Hmm.
nobody, I don't think, really.
Yeah.
Um, and then gradually, as you're aware of, the interest in sound, the understanding that sound and vibration is at the source of everything. That grew in the later years. And so, yeah, there's a lot of people working with crystal bowls and sound healing and all of this now. It has become trendy also, there's an aspect of it that, it's just, I think that my unicity is found in the fact that I have so much experience, and I have just like navigated, those waters for so long and in so many different contexts. And also, what I do with the voice, I think is contributes in a very unique way. And in my experience, when people touch their voice and touch themselves with their own voice, there is some form of magic happening. And so what I'm doing, I pretend that everybody can do it very differently. We all have different voice. I mean, of course, my voice is really trained, my register is really, big and all of that. But regardless, I believe that when the voice is connected to the heart, when the voice sings the heart, it is beautiful. And I've experienced this. I've witnessed this because I was going to say I teach. I rather accompany people in discovering what it takes and what it's like, to produce a sound that is not controlled, that is not like, that is just like fully connected to the heart. People who had never sung because they don't believe in themselves having a voice. And I cry when I hear them, just like ride, their own voice. And I have chills right now just remembering this. So I think that I have a mission is to reintroduce people to themselves through the voice. Yeah.
How do you get people to connect the voice to the heart?
Well, it's very technical at first. I take them by the hand, so to speak, and there's like kind of like a recipe, and it involves the body. It involves just becoming aware that the voice is way more than this. We think that we sing here, but we sing with the entire body. Like the whole body needs to resonate, like a cello, like a guitar. If you have this image, and you create space within yourself by just like breathing, right away it changes your voice. And then I point, to them, can you hear yourself? Can you hear yourself? And then, oh, they realize. And when they finally relax, oh, they have a voice, And then there's the posture and the breathing and just like starting, just making sound. And so I take them through like maybe a half a day. It could be half a day when it's a workshop, like a day or a day-long workshop or a weekend. And then we use instruments also. I use the crystal bowl just to instill this quality of resonance, in their experience, and also a little bit of mimicking. I show them what I do, and so it sparks some inspiration in them. And after that, it's like throwing yourself off a cliff. You just have to jump and trust. And when they start, like they forget what, and I think that in the forgetting, in the getting rid of the thinking, then the connection gets established because it's always there. It's always there.
So basically what you're saying is anybody can sing. So
Yes.
can anybody have a beautiful voice? You know, I used to love singing when I was a little girl, and then I was with a musician for quite a few years, and he always told me I was tone deaf. So every time I'd sing with the radio, he would like lower the radio, make me sing, and like make fun of me. So after that, I never, ever, ever sang publicly. I
Oh,
still like to sing, but to myself, you know, in the car by myself. But you know, like, so there's still hope for someone like me, or basically anyone,
yes.
even
Oh,
when you're
yes.
tone deaf.
This is really a sad story. And there are so many sad stories like this because when people are told that their voice is not okay, it's
Mm.
a it's a blow on something that's very, very personal, very intimate, very it's very beautiful in them that gets, shut down. And it has immense implications and impact, and it's very sad because it shuts down something that just wants to shine. And I don't think that you need to sing in key to sing from your heart. That's why I call it voicing, because to just take away the idea that you gotta sing a song and be exactly in tune with the song. What about your own song? What would it sound like, regardless of all the conventions and everything else? That's what I love people to find, uh, because it really triggers something in them that suddenly gives them more confidence, and strength and stability and power, like personal power. It's empowering, for them to maybe say no when they want to say no instead of saying yes, or like it has various, impacts, but it's important, especially now. It's important to That's what I mean. That's what it means to me to find your voice, you know.
Mhm.
Mm.
There's a lot about what you do that's just so spiritual. And I know that, the voicing helps on many levels. I mean, physically, you feel so much better and expanded when you
Mm.
do it. I don't know. I see so many people with thyroid issues, right? And you
Um,
wonder, is that connected to how our voices have been suppressed? That
oh.
chakra, especially women. Now, women talk a lot, right? They talk a lot. They talk more than men. But are they really using their voice in the most empowered way that they can, that's aligned with who they are? That I don't see very much, right?
It's not so much that they talk a lot. It's what they say.
What they say, yes.
What is it about,
Mm.
What is it that they're communicating? And I realized that we take very little time to prepare our communication. We think that, we know what we want to say, but often we don't. We don't take the time to clarify, what it is that we want to transmit, what it is that we want to say. And so often we are in reaction, and the voice translates that, because you can't hide.
That's right.
The voice does not lie. And
Mhm.
as an audience, or as someone hearing a message being said, we're not always aware of what's behind it, but we get it at another level. And that's why it's really important to know clearly what you want to say. Yes, I think that there is a very spiritual element in working with the voice, because its vibrational nature just connected with something of the spirit, something very etheric, something very subtle that goes beyond the frequencies, if you want, or that are audible. And also because when your voice resonates with your entire being, it's like the soul goes, finally. I always have this image of the voice being constituted of four pillars. The first one is the body. There's the physical body that needs to be prepared, that needs to be available. Now there's the emotional body. You need to know where your heart is. And that's part of the clarifying what you want to say. Where are you communicating from emotionally? Often we have no awareness of that. And then when you know where you stand in terms of how you feel, then you can make sure that that's the mental body, what it is you need to say. And so when those three pillars are aligned, that is ready, prepared, clear, then the fourth pillar being the soul or the spirit can enter and act and communicate. So you are communicating beyond yourself. You're just being connected with what I like to call the great mystery. And I feel that in this posture, you are in your truth, and the voice expresses, fully. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
It
it makes
makes
a lot of sense.
real sense. And I've been to quite a number of your events when you've come to Toronto. And one of the things that I found also very magical was when you took a group of us, most of us strangers to one another. And it wasn't even like an intense workshop. It may have been an evening, like 2-3 hours. And somehow you got us to sit, to voice.
Yeah.
And somehow it came out so powerfully, so beautifully, totally unorchestrated, totally impromptu. And it built, and it went to various, down various pathways and journeys, and it rose up and it got quiet, and then we all stopped exactly on time. Like
I know.
it was like, oh my God, how did that happen? But I'm sure, and we would also do healings. I remember you would have somebody volunteer, and we would all, I think we were voicing, and the person would just lie there. They would ask for healing and would lie there. And some of them had amazing experiences. So this was the magic that always intrigued me about the work that you did. And I don't know how you experienced it. I never got a chance to really ask you, well, when you were doing that with these groups of people, like how did you experience that?
Well, you see, people are prepared. What I do with the voice prior to this, puts people in a state, a very deep state. In that instant, there is a connection. So the group voicing you're talking about, it's happening in a moment of togetherness, of unity in that connection. And that's what is at play when there's kind of an invisible current just taking people, places. When you see like a flock of birds just like moving all together, it's like an amazing phenomenon, right? So it's a little bit the same thing. And
It is.
so I my experience of this is I'm always in awe. This and always inspires a sentiment of wonder, to witness this. At the same time, it's it makes my body, my whole system like breathe in I feel so grateful. I'm so grateful to be part of, this journey, and to be able to be there to take people through this kind of journeys. And actually, oh, I'm so excited because I'm soon launching a project really dear to me. And Lucille, I've been doing this, I think it was last winter. I committed, I think it was for several weeks, to be live every morning for 15, 20 minutes to lead people through what I called a voice meditation.
Oh, yes.
And so I'm doing this again. I'm launching a project. It's not going to be every morning live because it's not really sustainable. But I want to keep and to reach out to as many people as possible, people who would be intrigued, curious, or like very interested and connected to their voice and to the desire to know more
Mm.
about voice and to
Will this be
experience.
on Instagram or YouTube?
I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure yet. Maybe probably it could be YouTube. I need to find yet what the ideal platform will be. But because it's obvious to me that there is really a fascination about the voice. But people don't understand why. But they know somewhere. And that explains why they're so like, wow, curious and in awe of people
Mhm.
who have a voice. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna be doing this online. Mhm.
Wonderful.
Very
Sign me up.
exciting.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
I know. I'm gonna reach out.
So, Laura, who typically, and maybe there's no typical, but who is the person who loves to come to you and do these things, the vocal coaching and your group events? What do you know about these people? What draws them?
Ah,
You mentioned the curiosity and the awe of the voice, but what else have you noticed that draws people to your work?
I think that a lot of it is people who realize that I don't, my perspective on the voices is different. And they see a window of opportunity that maybe there's something possible to be done, with their voice. But what I want to say also is that I operate, beyond and inclusively also with the voice, with sound. I do sound work individually, a little bit as you would do a massage, I suppose, but it's a massage with sound using tuning forks and various other instruments to apply different resonances to their whole system. And well, there's this kind of like trendy element which works very much in the favor of people like me who are working with sound now, just because people are curious. And also, you know, I think that a lot of people are looking for alternatives for problems that they've had for a long, long time, and for which they have not found, a solution or and you see, I think that a lot of challenges that we experience stem from um, experiences we've had a long, long time ago, as you know. Our
Mhm.
core beliefs are formed when we are very, very young, and we don't have the resources to make choices or to discern, what options, we have. And so we lock ourselves in thought patterns that run through for the rest of our life and create havoc, where as we grow, these energetic nuts as their dissonances in our system become solid, hard, and like they crystallize. And that's how it creates problems in the body eventually. So with the forks, it's amazing because when we work in the magnetic field, because this is mostly, where I intervene in the invisible body, the fork, when it encounters a dissonance, a charge, like an energy that is kind of stuck there, the change of the fork changes.
Wow.
Some people hear it, not everybody hears it, but I certainly do. And I know that, okay, there's something there. And so the fork being or producing a very pure sound, a very rich sound, a very high frequency sound, it's able to entrain the dissonance to melt, to just dispel, to just like to free up this energy, this vitality that is kind of stuck there, that has been stuck there for years. And I know when it's released because the sound of the fork changes. And now I use the fork a little bit as a magnet, if you may, and slowly I just sweep this energy back into the person's body so that it's available, for healing, for just growing, for expanding into, their whole being. And so that attracts people. I have clients who are 80 years old,
Wow.
and I've had like a 4-year-old, on the
Wow.
table.
Wow.
And yeah,
And
and
what kind of changes can they expect after such a treatment? Like, what do they notice? What's different? How are they feeling
well,
after?
on the spot, most of the time, people experience a very big fatigue. And
Yes.
it's because the system undergoes a whole like adjustment. I say that, at a very basic way, in a very basic way, we change the fundamental structure of the person, because vibrationally, we just shifted something. So
Mhm.
the body, in order to adjust and to like when you get off the table, you don't quite feel in your own shoes, you're a little bit lightheaded, a little bit, and it's normal. And it can also induce a form of detox, whether it's physical or emotional. And so I always make sure that people stay aware, of their energy level, their moods, their dream digestion, because there's a possible shift on any of these levels. And people who have come regularly to see me for months and sometimes years. I mean, I don't want to attribute, this wonderful change solely to, the biofield tuning and the sound work, because obviously somebody coming for, months or years, they're invested, in their own expansion and growth. But I mean, imagine you're just like clearing all the dissonances and the contractions in your invisible body, which impact your physical body, your emotional body, and suddenly you're getting rid of things, thought patterns that like you just get lighter, you just get happier, it's amazing. It's wonderful.
Well, I can give you a testimonial because I've had at least a few of your biofield
That was
tuning
going to be my next
sessions.
question, Lucille, if you have
Yeah.
tried this for yourself.
Yeah.
About it.
And it was so striking to me when you were moving through my energy field with the tuning fork. and all of a sudden the sound of the tuning fork, which was so beautiful and so clear, suddenly went like dull, like bang.
Yeah.
And it was like, and I thought, whoa, what have we found here? And you take people through a journey through their past, right? Where you ask them to remember, well, okay, I think I'm at the point where you're maybe 16 years old, 16, whatever. I
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
remember.
yeah.
You were able to really discern where this was coming from. And then it was like, and I might not remember it at the beginning, but then it suddenly struck me, oh yeah, well, I had this big disappointment at that age. And to see that it's still stuck in my energetic field was
Yeah.
really amazing. And you're right, it does. It rearranges everything. I remember that sensation of feeling very tired, like I really wanted to have a nap afterwards. And then there were sessions I remember where I was able to like walk like 2 kilometers and I felt great, you know?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, yeah. You
Yeah.
never know.
So,
You can't expect,
yeah.
specifically, how it's going to be. But yeah, in general, there are those experiences. And then afterwards, often though, then people are like, wow, they feel energetic and yeah, it's quite a modality, I must
Mhm.
say. And you're right. It's not necessary to remember, what the energy nut corresponds to in terms of like a past experience, because the fork, the release, of the contraction still happens. And I must say, when I sweep the fork through the energy body, if the system is not ready to heal something or to have the whole thing go through this process, the fork is not going to read it. It's going to go just like go right through.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. So
mhm.
this, ultimately it's the system's intelligence that leads.
I've never had a
Yes.
treatment like that, but I would love to try it. It sounds amazing. I've done energy,
Yeah.
different kinds of energy healing and Reiki treatments and things like this, but this sounds incredible. Is
And
it
you do this by Zoom? Because I know we had one
okay?
session by Zoom.
Yes, I tried. Like this is
Yeah.
something that I mean, I don't like to use the word at a distance because the idea is that there is no
No
distance,
distance.
right? There
Right.
it's the energy. Like we just take we have this idea that space around us is empty because we don't feel it, we don't see it. But it's not true. It's our carrier. It's the transmitter. It's ether, and so the energy and the sound travels very subtly. But ultimately the information is omnipresent, so that I'm able to operate even if the person, I have clients in Toronto that I work with, in Vancouver, in Europe, in France, and people for some reason who feel that they would rather stay home, even in Montreal. I've done that before. We've done Zoom sessions. So what happens is that we have a conversation on Zoom a little bit just to take the pulse and to know a little bit, orient the session. And then I I put the phone in my pocket so that we can, keep talking. And obviously I need my hands. So and the person is lying down, doesn't need to see me anyway. And we do the session this way. And I have crystals on the table, and I kind of install the hologram of the person. And we go through the session, and afterwards we conclude. Yeah, that's how it goes.
Wow.
Really?
That's amazing.
And are you
Wow.
getting the
Yeah,
same results through Zoom as in person? Just as works just as well. I mean,
I know.
it is so
I know. It's kind of like I think that when you really tap in the principle of entanglement, that we're so intricately connected that there's no difference.
Isn't that amazing? I'm studying quantum biology right now. So
Well, there you go.
we're studying all about the ether and the plasma. And like you said, it's not empty space around us. I mean, this is like this living thing that surrounds us and connects us, and it's carrying information and everything. It's so amazing.
So much so.
Yeah, absolutely. And same
For that reason.
frequencies, healing frequencies, sound, all of those things. I mean, just like how in nature, when you go outside and you hear the waterfall or the sound of the sea, I mean, all of those things are healing. So it's just it's incredible, isn't it?
We are sound.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to operate with sound.
Makes a lot of sense. Is this
Mhm.
something that you're teaching to other people?
Other than teaching people to reconnect with their own voice, right now I feel that I'm too busy actually doing acting, and I did not consider this yet, but who knows? Who
Yeah,
knows?
that would be a great idea down the line, because I don't think there's anybody doing that. I mean, this is so
Well,
neat.
yes, I mean the biofield tuning. There is like a school
It
in
is.
Vermont.
Yes.
And this is being taught a little everywhere else in the world, because this modality has really like expanded in popularity. But I've started working with the forks in the early 2000, or even before that, when I studied the polarity therapy with John Beaulieu in New York State. He was already working with the tuning forks. And I'm very, very fond of his perspective with this work. He encourages the person to really tap into their own inspiration and their own capacity to read the sound, to read the energy. And so, yeah, there are other people working with the
The
tuning
tuning, but
forks.
not with the voice, not the way you're
Exactly, that's
incorporating,
what I
right?
was going to
That's very
say.
unique.
Like
Yeah.
I actually combine, the use of the voice and various other instruments also, to work with the system. Yeah, and I also invite the person to use their own voice, like in very, very, simple way, so that, the impact of the amplitude of the sound is augmented, by their own vibration. Yeah.
So amazing. Laura, what would you say to when somebody like loses their voice? What do you think happens there energetically or spiritually speaking?
I'm laughing because it happened to me like last summer
Oh, you
when
did?
I needed to perform. Yeah.
You lost your voice completely.
Yeah, I had laryngitis and I lost my voice completely, and I was on stage. I needed to be on stage. That was very interesting. It created, amazing moments of uh just that's when, there was like very powerful connection. You have to rely, on um spirit, to to guide you in those moments. So basically what happened is that I was not able to sing. I didn't have access to my voice. So I spoke the lines, so with that voice, from that otherworldly voice that wasn't mine, um but I think that when somebody lose their voice, it can be a
But
virus,
some people lose
or
it permanently. I was just wondering if that's
oh, you
how
mean
connected.
permanent?
Yes, like not just laryngitis, but like permanently or for years at a time. Could that be somehow connected to our energetic field or something?
Oh, there's no question. There's no yeah, in my perspective, like, of course,
Mhm.
it's connected to something like very, very traumatic. And Yeah, this is very sad. But I mean, this can be worked with. This can be
Mhm.
worked with. I'm an optimist, it's like but I feel that, yeah, of course. But somebody losing their voice, I did not encounter this. I I met many people who came because they feel that they have a very,
I
they
was going to
speak
ask
like
you
this.
about people because I do know people like that, and they just don't project their voice. They're like, "Oh, hi,"
Yeah.
like that. Like, what's going on with that?
Well, they 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 don't have a body. They're not connected with their bodies. They don't they
Body.
don't they don't have a breath. They don't have, like I worked one with a wonderful young man who stuttered
Yeah.
heavily.
Mhm.
And I realized that before he spoke, he would expel all his air. Well, how can you speak if you don't have air, to ride the sound on? And it was coming from abusive parents, who would hit him, and so he was in constant state of guarding guarding himself. And so again, taking him through a protocol of just like moving his body and creating space and just relearning to take a breath, before speaking, So I think that there's something like this happening with people who I think that there's such a shyness in them, or such a low self-esteem, or low perspective on themselves, that they want to take as little space as possible.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
so,
Very typical for women. Happens much more with women than with men, right?
oh,
I
yes.
definitely know a few ladies like that, just so soft spoken that they'll leave you a voice clip and you can't even understand them because they're always
Yeah, right.
it's so. And I mean, there's
Yeah.
something to be said about, I mean, that there's the opposite of people who take up a lot of space and very
Yeah.
loud. I have someone like this in my house right now. My husband's cousin is here, and she's like, whoa, like when she enters a room, the voice comes first. It's insane. But I mean, to me, that's much more attractive than someone who is afraid to use her voice.
Well, yeah. But then, the opposite can be true too. Somebody who's just like too overpowering,
Yeah.
too much. I find that it stems, maybe in the same place, in a form of um um
Compensation or
discomfort,
something.
with themselves,
Overcompensate.
exactly, compensation, for shyness, or a low self-esteem,
Yeah.
making sure, that, they're, yeah, overcompensating. Yeah. Or, I sometimes meet people who are very cold, very, very, very stern.
Mhm.
And in fact, they're just like really shy.
Mhm.
It's not that they're not sympathetic, or,
Mhm, mhm.
yeah.
You
But you
find
in your work though, you must observe people really coming in touch with their traumas, right? Because for me, there's nothing like vocalizing to get you really in
Yes.
touch with the deep emotional pain that you have, or those traumas. As Lynn was saying, those times when you've been shamed for using your
Oh,
voice. And
exactly.
so, do you find that this is very helpful for people who are trying to heal from past traumas?
Yes, it is. It is. Because, there are things for which there are no words. And so when you're able to just like let it all out, and it's tremendously healing. And that's why each time it lies, almost each time it happens, there's tears, because there's such a relief, and there's like the sadness. It gives you it's permissive. It gives you permission to be sad, and to experience this sadness. Then release it. So yeah, I was going to say something I forgot. Yeah, it's very healing to be able to do that. Mm. Oh yeah, that's what I was going to
Go
say.
ahead, go
Sorry.
ahead.
Um, one time I was very angry, very, and I was so angry. I decided that I really needed to do something about it. So I picked a playlist of really high energy, like music and song, and I put it like really loud, and I screamed and I screamed and I cried. But then I realized that I was able to do it without hurting myself because I knew how. I knew how to use my voice so that I would not hurt myself. So I'm able to guide people to do that. And so in the process of having them producing some sound that would be releasing, of their, stuck hurt or pain, in the previous protocol, like, it's done so that they don't hurt themselves. And it doesn't need to be loud. And most of the time, it's not necessarily loud so that it's free and the result is the same. Mm-hmm.
So interesting. I shared, do you remember, Lucille, that video that I shared where women would go in the woods and they were all screaming at the top of their
Screaming.
lungs,
Yeah.
being
I'm
angry?
sure I'm sure they were hurting themselves when they did that.
That's what I was thinking now. Like before I thought, okay, that's what a great release. You just go and you scream about your husbands or whatever. And like they were just screaming at the top of their lungs. But then you're saying that there's a better way, that's not necessary.
Well, I think that it's important. The voice is very powerful, but it's also very fragile. You don't want to hurt yourself. And when you don't know how to go about it, and you just go like, blah, it goes right here, it's, yeah, it can be damaging. You can actually do permanent damage, if you're not careful. Yeah.
And isn't that amazing that with the voice, we can soothe someone, a crying baby, or we can also cause chaos, how we can hurt someone, just not even by what we're saying, but by the tone in our voice.
Oh my God. Didn't we all experience this?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It can be like a knife in the heart, just the tone of a voice. Oh, I have something about the voice I always tell people. Like, you remember, you can recognize a voice in 1,000. If you remember maybe the voice of somebody you knew who is gone, if you stop for a moment, you can hear their voice. It's unique, and I find that it's a very precious memory.
Mhm.
That's so
That's
true. I never thought of that, but it's absolutely true.
right, eh? So it's been something very, very intimate to be taken care of, to be cradled, to be loved. Love your voice. Love your voice. It says everything about you. And it wants to be whole. It wants to be true. It wants to be connected to your soul. Your voice wants to heal you. It wants to speak to you. It wants to, yeah. It's your own. It's your treasure. It's your power. Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful. And I'm just curious, other than taking your upcoming voice meditations, how would people who are interested in starting to support their voice, what would you recommend that they do? Something, maybe a simple daily routine. What would you suggest?
Well, I would suggest that, first of all, they don't refrain uh, from singing if they feel like doing it, like anywhere in their car, in their shower, or really, because some people do. They feel even when they're just with themselves, it doesn't dawn on them to just like hum a melody or do, you know. And if you want to push, you know, the exploration a little bit further, just to maybe sit for a few minutes, it doesn't have to be very long, and to just engage in a I call it a sonorous sigh. So you just like take a gentle, easy breath, and with in mind to let your voice sigh on the exhale. So that sounds like ah. And in the process, like feel feel what it feels like to vibrate with your own voice. So ah,
Oh, it feels so
or you
nice.
could be
It's like an internal massage, right?
exactly.
You're stimulating
And
your
it
vagus nerve as well, right?
oh,
Mhm.
absolutely,
Yeah.
yes. It triggers, you know, it just like innerves and activates all of those systems. It can be with your lips closed also. You know, there's a book who was written on the humming. So,
Mhm.
hmm. Or else I like to sort of like dance with the do waves with the voice also on the humming. Um,
We need to practice that, Lucille.
Yes, we do.
Probably off camera, but we'll definitely.
But always gentle, always,
Mhm.
you know, never feel that you're pushing. Just
Yeah.
like I always say, just like a little mouse.
Mhm.
Hmm. And it doesn't need to be pretty. Don't try to be pretty.
Mhm.
Just like, hmm. And you know what? Just set things up to heighten your experience. You know, have a candle, have your favorite crystals, you know, like lit a stick of incense, you know, and have maybe your favorite, you know, beautiful soothing music playing, you know, and sit in a comfortable posture on a chair or on a cushion on the floor, and have an experience with your voice. You know, gift yourself, you know, this moment of just like, okay, I'm gonna experience this, you know, and so you do this for a few minutes and consider the before and the after,
Mhm.
and you'll see you'll see that suddenly like you get into like a togetherness. There's like a connection that gets established, you know, you feel maybe more relaxed about something that troubles you, or you might be inspired to find an answer, you know, to something that you feel puzzled about. It's yeah, I think that it shakes things up inside in a very soothing way when you let your own voice vibrate, and it doesn't need to be complicated.
Mhm.
Or else you come to see me.
Definitely. That's a
Come
better
and
option,
see.
easier option.
That's amazing. Yes, yeah.
You
Um,
know, there is sorry.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was considering with a student of mine, somebody that I work with on Zoom, actually, a student who is Norman Deutsch. Maybe that rings a bell. Norman
Yes,
Deutsch.
yes, yes.
Yeah. So
Very, very famous psychiatrist who wrote quite a number of books on
on
uh,
the neuroplasticity of the
plasticity of the
brain,
brain. Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
he's Norman has studied with me for 8 years.
Wow.
First, you know, yeah. And so it's just like it's amazing. It's wonderful. So of course, he's a music lover, and he plays the guitar, and after 8 years, well, his voice has like considerably expanded. And I believe that well, he wanted to do this for several reasons, but one of them is to engage his brain, obviously, in a learning process to just like keep its vitality, keeps, you know, the youth, you know, and the health of the brain. So I think that it's an interesting aspect of it also.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I like to ask, our interviewees like yourself a question like, what has all of your experience with voicing, how has it changed you as a person?
What comes to mind is that it has given me the courage and the to be whole and to be me, to be myself. Yeah.
That's profound. And
Yeah.
it's true in this world. That is a feat. That is a feat to just be yourself. Wow.
It reminds me of somebody I said to a friend years ago. That was like over 30 years ago. And I expressed to him that my ultimate wish was to just be, and that nothing else was necessary, that it was enough. And I didn't know what that meant really, but I knew that it was true, that that's what I wanted. And now I feel that this is my experience. I'm doing all of this because I love it. I'm so excited about what I do. I feel that I am contributing in the best possible way for the good of humanity. In the process, I'm just like discovering more and more of myself, where I belong, and what is my world, my inner world and my outer world. And my perspective is just so much bigger than even the planet Earth. And I intervene, I sing for people in retirement homes, people who are sick, who have a dementia. I accompany people at the end of life. I sing in palliative care units, so that connects me with a realm, and my voice has given me this. My voice is allowing this. My voice is just connecting me in such a way that I live fully in gratitude, in light, in love. And the universe is just like feeding me, just more and more, feeding me with beauty, with wonders, with excitement, with I'm so grateful.
And you just vibrate this incredible, peaceful energy, right, Lucille? It's just,
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
you are
It's
so much more than just your voice. I mean, just your whole
absolutely.
presence is incredible.
Hmm.
I
Laura,
think that
Yes.
that's what happens.
it's,
Hmm.
I'm blown away, absolutely.
Hmm.
Laura, can you tell our viewers or listeners how they can get in contact with you, how they can learn more, where they can find you?
Well, I would like to offer. I have a gift of my voice in um, in an impromptu that I feel could help people to travel to other realms, maybe. In the process, they would access, my website and maybe a YouTube channel and social networks so that they could contact me. So I don't know, ladies, maybe you could give your people the link for them to access this track. And then, yeah, I could also in the process get their contact and let them know of my activities, whether in Toronto, in Montreal, or in the ether.
Ether. You will see in the ether.
Hmm.
That's
Thank you
beautiful.
so much. Absolutely wonderful, beautiful conversation. We enjoyed it so much.
Oh, thank you so much. I get really always very excited to talk about it. It reminds me because you get distracted, with life. but it just brings me back, to the wonder of the great mystery and my connection with it through the voice. And thank you, ladies, for this opportunity.
Thank you
Oh,
so much.
thank you. It was our total pleasure.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you very
Yahoo!
much. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Thank you for tuning into the Rewilded Human podcast. We hope you're leaving with insights to reconnect with your natural, vibrant self. Remember, the information shared here is for educational and inspirational purposes only and is not a substitute for medical advice. Always consult a qualified healthcare provider for any personal health concerns. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, subscribe, and share it with others who might benefit. We'll see you next time, ready to dive even deeper. Stay wild, stay true, and stay tuned.